Howdy everyone, my name is Chris and welcome to my roundup of the best low budget lenses for your Sony E-mount APS-C or crop sensor camera. So that includes the A5000 series and A6000 series cameras, as well as Sony's very old NEX series of cameras. All of these lenses will also work on a full frame Sony E-mount camera, but you'll get heavy vignetting around the edges of your image and you'll have to shoot in crop mode. But like I say, for the smaller crop sensor cameras, they'll all be perfect. Sony's E-mount system has been around for a long time now, and it's always been an open system, so you are blessed with a mountain of options here. As such, I'm going to whittle things down and just show you what I think are the best low budget options out there. There are others if you look around, but these are some of my favourites. This is a list of lenses that you can buy new and which go directly onto your mirrorless Sony camera without the need to fiddle about with adapters. I'm going to start with autofocus lenses, which are obviously easier to use, particularly for beginners, but will cost you more money. Then we'll stray into manual focus lens territory. Manual focus lenses take a little more time and practice to use, but some of them are very good and you can save a lot of money by using them. And if any of these lenses really strikes your interest, then take a look in the description below. You'll find links to my full reviews of each one so you can find out more, as well as affiliate links to buy these lenses, which helps me to keep these lens reviews trucking on the channel. Thanks for your support. First off then, autofocus lenses. The less expensive ones start out at about 16mm, so here's a cute little f2.8 pancake option that's about $250. Actually, I'm not entirely sure if Sony makes this one new anymore, but there are plenty available all over the place if you know where to look. They're small and fun and offer you sharp picture quality in the middle of your images, although its corner image quality is quite another matter. However, if you are willing to save up and spend some more money, then the Sigma 16mm f1.4 DC-DN contemporary lens is absolutely awesome. Obviously, as you can see, its size is almost incomparable to the pancake lens, but its maximum aperture is 4 times brighter and its image quality, well, about 4 times better too, and it can get you some absolutely stunning pictures. It might be more expensive, but for under $400 it's still a bit of a bargain if you ask me. If you want to zoom in a little further than 16mm, then Sony also make this quite nice 20mm f2.8 pancake lens. It's a similar price and very similar image quality to the 16mm option I talked about just now, but with a slightly tighter angle of view, which some might argue is a little less exciting to use but a bit more universal. One other option is the Samyang AF 24mm f2.8 FE. This has come down in price to about $250 or about £200 in the UK. It's nice and small and has very decent image quality when you stop down its aperture a bit. Its other main advantage is that it actually gives a full frame image circle, so you'll see a bit less vignetting when using it on a smaller crop sensor camera, and it'll be ready for you if ever you upgrade to a full frame camera in the future, where it also performs quite nicely. Let's zoom in just a little more to the 30mm region, which is a nice standard focal length, useful for getting a little more emphasis on your subject. If you fancy a cheap lens that's also versatile, then the Sony 30mm f3.5 macro is definitely worth a look. Its maximum aperture of f3.5 is not very bright and nothing to get excited about, but its image quality is very sharp, and of course it can get you very close to your subject, offering life-size magnification, which makes it really enjoyable to use. Its build quality is quite nice too, as well as the fact that it costs under $250. However, if you're not interested in macro photography and you want a slightly brighter maximum aperture and you want even better value for money, then Sigma make a little 30mm f2.8 DN art lens. It's tiny, it has nice build quality, it's decently sharp, and it's around $170 in the US. Get it while you can though, they're getting harder to find as Sigma are phasing these ones out. If you're willing to spend a bit more money, then a lens that Sigma definitely are not phasing out is their very popular 30mm f1.4 DC-DN-C lens. It offers a maximum aperture that's 4 times brighter. That's 4 times more light hitting your sensor for faster shutter speeds and 4 times more autofocus backgrounds. Awesome! Its build quality is very nice, its sharpness reasonably good, but its price of around $300 again is a bargain. Are you seeing a pattern emerging with these Sigma lenses yet? Well, I'll mention one last option here. If you like image stabilization, perhaps for doing handheld video work, but your camera doesn't have it, then Sony make a 35mm f1.8 OSS lens, which has a basic image stabilizer inside it. I've used it quite successfully for video work before. However, it's an older lens now, it's not the sharpest in the universe, and it's over $400, so we're kind of riding the low budget territory line with that one. Well now, let's zoom in a bit more, because some of the most popular lenses on any camera system are 50mm lenses. If you're shooting on a crop sensor camera, then they give you a nice, strong emphasis on your subject and an autofocus background, perfect for portrait photography. Right away, I can quite strongly recommend the little Yongnuo 50mm f1.8 SDA DSM. Its image quality is reasonably good, its build quality cheap and cheerful, but what stands it out from the crowd is that it has an autofocus motor, while still only costing $120 in the US, or about £100 in the UK. What a bargain! This will be one of the first lenses that most beginner photographers should be thinking about getting, and Yongnuo are absolutely going to kill a lot of the competition with it. If you want to spend a bit more money than that on the same kind of lens, but better, then one really nice option is Sony's own 50mm f1.8 OSS. It's a little sharper than the Yongnuo lens, it has far better build quality, and the ace up its sleeve is its image stabilization system, which will help you to get much smoother looking video and less blurry pictures when you're shooting it in low light conditions. A very nice lens indeed, but it'll cost you a lot more money, $350 to be exact. And if you want to spend just a little more again, then a lens that has come down in price quite a lot recently is Samyang's AF 50mm f1.4 FE. At $400, again, it's not cheap, but it gives you a very bright maximum aperture of f1.4, which lets in 66% more light than f1.8, and gives you more deeply autofocus backgrounds too, for a very artistic touch in your pictures. And again, it's compatible with full frame cameras, so if ever you upgrade to full frame in the future, it's ready for you. Now, let's zoom in just a little further into real portrait lens territory. The Samyang AF 75mm f1.8 FE costs around $400, so again, it's a bit more expensive, but it gives you a nice tight portrait perspective for subject photography, which looks great, very nice bokeh, very sharp images, and that bright aperture of f1.8 gives you snappy shutter speeds when you're shooting in darker situations. And again, it's another lens that's compatible with full frame cameras if ever you upgrade to full frame, so that's one option for you. If you're happy to zoom in even further than that though, for $400 or about £320 in the UK, the Viltrox 85mm f1.8 autofocus lens offers you some great possibilities for portrait and subject photography. Again, it's another full frame camera lens, so on a crop sensor camera, its low vignetting and the quality of its bokeh look extra nice. Its focal length of 85mm is a bit telephoto, so you'll be getting quite tight images here, but they will look stunning. The lens's image quality is quite good, but you'll be blown away by its lovely metallic build quality. It's a great option. And finally, if you really want to zoom into your subject and you're on a low budget, then Sony also market a 55 to 210mm telephoto zoom lens. It's not the sharpest lens in the world, and its dark maximum aperture and somewhat modest zoom range are not particularly exciting, but still, it will get you close to far away subjects, it has image stabilization, and it only costs $230 or a little over £200 in the UK, making it good value for money. I'll finish with the autofocus lenses by also saying this: don't totally discount Sony's little zoomable kit lens. The Sony 16-50mm f3.5 to 5.6 PZ OSS does have its problems, but it's sharp in the middle of your images and has a versatile zoom range as well as image stabilization, making it useful for video making. In fact, I shot a whole ton of 4K video footage with it in Turkey a few years ago, and I was really pleased with the results. Sony do offer a number of other zoom lenses you can upgrade to if that's what you want, but they're all pretty expensive. Tamron also make an 18-200mm super zoom lens, but at over $500 it's a bit too much money for this video. Sorry Sony camera owners, your native low budget zoom lens options are kind of limited here. But what about if you're on a very low budget? Well, here are some manual focus lenses just for you. Shooting in manual focus takes a little practice and is a major constriction when shooting moving subjects, but manual focus lenses often still manage to offer great image quality and cost far less money, so do consider them. And I have a number of ideas for you here. I'm going to start with wide-angle lenses, then zoom in a bit as we go along, if that's alright with you, so we don't lose ourselves along the way. One of the widest angle lenses money can buy is the little Meike 6.5mm f2 circular fisheye lens. Those circular fisheye images are certainly an acquired taste, and they're not for everybody, but still, this unbelievably wide-angle manual focus fisheye lens is very sharp and can get you some really fascinating and arresting images. While it may not be a lens you end up getting out to use very often, at only $130, it's pretty good value for money. Another nice fisheye option, if you don't want the full circular effect, is the Samyang 8mm f2.8 Mark II. Samyang lenses are also marketed as Rokinon or Wolumex, I should have mentioned that earlier. I love this lens's fisheye projection, which offers an extreme wide angle of view while not distorting your pictures beyond all recognition. It costs a little more money, but it's lovely and sharp and gets you some wonderful images. Don't overuse it though, the effect can get a little tiresome. Then there's the Samyang 12mm f2, one of my favourite wide-angle lenses ever, and one that I've used extensively in my own video work. It's rectilinear, which basically means that it doesn't add a fisheye effect to your images, straight lines in your images remain straight, but that ultra-wide angle of 12mm is brilliant for getting the bigger picture on just about anything, while not being too wide, and the maximum aperture of f2 means that it lets in loads of light, making it usable even for astrophotography at night time. It may not be the cheapest lens on this list, but it's an awesome one nonetheless. Let's zoom in a bit now to 22mm, that's a nice averagely wide angle on an APS-C camera. I was always a fan of the Zonlai 22mm f1.8. It's very low cost, being only just over $100, and yet offering nice build quality and reasonably sharp optics. I love that focal length, and something about this lens just really floated my boat. It produced really lovely images with nice bokeh, and handled really well for the price. Another option is the Kamlan 28mm f1.4, another manual focus lens, but this time it has a really bright maximum aperture of f1.4 for getting out of focus backgrounds and snappy shutter speeds, and it costs only under $200. Its image quality is quite acceptable, and its bokeh looks alright. It's quite a good option actually. Well, let's move on to some manual focus 35mm lenses. They are some of the most popular because the field of view they give is so versatile, and as a result the market is absolutely saturated with low budget options for you here. The first of these lenses has an extremely bright maximum aperture for shooting in dark situations and getting out of focus backgrounds. The 7 Artisan's 35mm f1.2 can get you some very artistic and striking looking images, all in a tiny lens body, and it only costs around $140. The problem with it is that its image quality is really soft, and it has some other technical problems too, which you can find out about in my full review, but if you don't care about getting the sharpest possible image quality, then it could be an interesting option for you. Next up is the Meike 35mm f1.7. It offers sharper optics than the 7 Artisan's option at about half the price. But with a maximum aperture of only f1.7, it doesn't let in as much light as the 7 Artisan's lens. It offers you a little more sharpness, but its images won't be quite as striking. Another very similar option to that at the same price is the Pergear 35mm f1.6. I found that a Pergear lens is sharper than a Meike, but unlike the Meike lens, it suffers from incredible field curvature. Now that means that its corners are in focus at different distances to the middle, so it's a very bad choice for shooting flat objects or spaces like you would be doing in landscape photography. But it'll be very good for subject photography, where you're just focusing on one subject somewhere in your image frame. I explain that a bit better in the main review, which I recommend watching if you're weighing up that option. On the other end of the image quality scale, if sharpness is your bag, then the Samyang 35mm f1.2 will cost you a lot more money than either of those lenses, but it offers much more resolution, even when you're shooting at its widest aperture of f1.2, so that's a popular option for those who want images that are packed with detail. And if you want very out of focus backgrounds in your images, then the Mitakon 35mm f0.95 Mark II won't completely break the bank for you either. It's one of the more expensive lenses on this list, and manually focusing it is no walk in the park, but it can get you some absolutely incredible results with awesomely out of focus backgrounds if that's your key interest. Be sure to get the superior Mark II version of the lens though. Well, that's quite enough 35mm lenses for now. Let's move on and look at 50mm lenses. On an APS-C camera, they're ideal for portrait photography, giving you a nice, tight field of view. One 50mm lens that really stands out is the Kamlan 50mm f1.1 Mark II. For $250, you can get a portrait lens that lets in loads of light and really throws your backgrounds way out of focus at f1.1. The images this lens can get you are awesome. Its image quality is averagely good. It may not be the sharpest lens in the world by any means, but it'll still get you a decent amount of detail, even at f1.1. If that sounds good to you, but you want to save even more money, then track down on eBay the original Mark I version of the lens. It's even cheaper at only about $170, but its image quality is far softer. Still though, it offers images that can really jump out at you. But if you have a bit more money to spare and you want some nice, sharp image quality, then Samyang, again, offer a very nice 50mm f1.2 lens. It too will get you some impressively out of focus backgrounds, but with far more image sharpness in your areas that are in focus. It's a gorgeous lens actually, although it will cost you more, of course. And finally, an 85mm lens for you. Samyang make a very lovely 85mm f1.8 lens specifically for APS-C mirrorless cameras, and you can see it here. This is one of the sharpest lenses I've tested. It's one of the more expensive on this particular list, but if you want a brilliant portrait lens for your mirrorless APS-C camera that just captures loads of detail and handles really well, then I highly recommend this one. You get a lot of lens for your money here. And well, that's about it from me on this particular subject. I do hope this video has been helpful to you. There are one or two other cheap manual focus lenses out there for Sony cameras which I haven't tested yet, or which I just haven't included in this review for whatever reason. Maybe I even just forgot about them, but not many more. If you have any particular favourites, be sure to mention them down in the description below. Happy shooting and God bless.